All right, think safe for us to get going and started on this. People, as they chime in, will get caught up. Good afternoon, everyone, or morning, depending on where you're from. Uh, Welcome to the Modernizing Virtualization session. It's all about de-risking strategies, avoiding lock-in, and embracing hybrid environments. I'm Chris Haight with CDW Canada, and as you can tell, I have a side gig here as a Lego builder. As a kid, growing up here in Vancouver, I would gather up all my Lego into a giant bin and build castles, galleons, and space fortresses and stuff, especially around the Halloween season, my favorite holiday, because firecrackers were legal. So my brother and I would build our bases and stand at either end, and the war would start, and we would toss firecrackers at each other's bases till we ran out of firecrackers. And when the smoke cleared, we would look at the battlefield to determine who won the war. Minifigures were everywhere, in the bushes and even across the yard. Our castles were in pieces and some even disfigured. Early on, though, we learned that no one really won the war. Both of us had to rebuild various models, minifigures, and structures, even buy some new Lego, which we liked. It was lots of fun, and we called it a tie every time and helped each other clean up. I still think I won all the wars, but then there was my parents, not too pleased with either of us. We were grounded sometimes, banned from Lego sometimes both, but then we grew up. I guess building Lego helped me with my addiction with gadgets, building gaming PCs, laptops, servers of all sorts, and data centers, which brings me to my role here at CDW as a principal solutions architect for modern data center and hybrid infrastructure. Damon, want to introduce yourself as well?
Hi there. I'm Damon Bear, Field CTO of the Americas for Nutanix, and I've been playing with technology since the early '80s as well. So I've seen the evolution of many different things since then. And today we're going to talk a bit about what that looks like in the modern era.
All right, talk about the modern era. We can all agree that virtualization has been a critical component for our IT journey, especially mine. My career is built on a lot of the VMware stuff. Over almost a century, technology improvements have consistently changed how computer systems operate. In the early 40s, systems were rigid, directly connected, and had very limited functionality. But even then, IBM found a way to provide multiple user access to a single system resources, thus contributing the first form of virtualization. The advancement in microprocessors and their mass production led to the distributed era, characterized by multi-user environments, data center sprawl, the use of familiar virtualization technologies, and the ability to provide user mobility, and so much more. This shift also paved the way for the services-oriented architecture known as the public cloud, or the decentralized era, where resources are made available on demand and are elastic in nature, whether as infrastructure, as platform, or software. While it is easy to consume, their improper management or inappropriate use can lead to budget overruns and escalating costs. We know, server sprawl, and that's the same within public cloud as well. We are all in the platform, or more broadly, an ecosystem era. Customers who have quickly embraced the cloud have realized that not all workloads are suitable for the public cloud environments due to factors such as latency, data privacy, compliancy requirements, or as simple as overall cost management being a bigger factor. The platform era is characterized by the ability to use modern virtualization to build architectures that are designed not only to be scalable, but also adaptable to emerging technology, allowing us to decide where it is best to run our workloads, thus allowing us to embrace a true hybrid cloud strategy, or what I call now hybrid infrastructure. But what does that mean, and how can we help you get there? First, let's talk about the evolution over time of virtualization. No, I'm not going to go all the way back to the 40s, but it's important to understand how this may affect your decision process as you try to modernize your environments. Many of you may not have been born yet when this had happened, but 26 years ago, VMware released their first hypervisor. It provided the ability to create virtual representation of servers and storage, enabling multiple virtual machines to run concurrently on a single host. In 2005, with the help of Intel, AMD, and VTX extensions, which was introduced, we now provided hardware acceleration and the ability to run operating systems unmodified inside a virtual machine. This was the real beginning of the distributed era, which saw massive amounts of workload being converted from a one-to-one dimension to a many-to-one. In 2006, another great moment with KVM, an open source virtualization becoming fully integrated into the Linux kernel, significantly changed the virtualization market by offering a new low-cost alternative. 2008 was the introduction of Hyper-V by Microsoft, but our focus for this afternoon will be more in the 2009, where Nutanix was founded. They created the hyperconverged infrastructure solution with a focus of simplifying IT infrastructure by merging compute, storage, and networking into a single manageable platform. Spring forward 4 years to 2013, a new kind of virtualization appears with the introduction of Docker, shortly followed a year later by Kubernetes, providing the ability for OS-level virtualization, or containers, changing forever how applications can be deployed and run consistently, no matter what the underlying infrastructure is. In 2015, Nutanix announced AHV based on KVM, but with all the added enterprise and management features KVM is lacking. In 10 years, it's become a modern and secure virtualization platform that powers VMs and containers for applications and cloud-native workloads on premises and in public clouds, truly aligning to the business requirements of the platform era. But then, in 2013, something happened, something that forever changed the conversation. I'll take it to, how do we all feel about Broadcom now? Our beloved hypervisor, VMware vSphere, still the gold standard, but I bet its time is running out for most of us. Not because it's bad tech, but contrary to that, it's the best to date. But we are finding ourselves forced to change unless we pay the dark side, at least in my eyes. So maybe it's time to join the variety of alternatives and join the rebellion, usher in a new platform, a new ecosystem. This is no small change. It's a massive one that we have been protected from for more than 2 decades, 24 years roughly. It's like changing the foundation of your house while living in it, disruptive and uncomfortable. And out on the internet, you'll see some ads or some stuff I threw out there. My favorite articles, Broadcom acquires Proxmox. That's my favorite article from this past April Fool's Day. But I think that speaks to the growing sentiment here that trust and choice are both dissolving fast. I'm glad it's a joke, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. Broadcom is still getting the profitability despite partners and customers' grumblings, the whole overall of what's ahead. And most of the customers and partners here, we have a long, costly journey ahead of us, no matter what path we choose, whether we stay with Broadcom or we choose to pivot to another platform or ecosystem, as I've been calling it. At the end of the day, though, Broadcom wants customers on VCF, vSphere Cloud Foundations. It's the highest priced package available, regardless of the features customers are actually going to use or need. Again, it's an ecosystem play, and why not? Broadcom did pay billions of dollars for VMware, and shouldn't they be able to do what they want with it? I guess we're finding out. Those discounts to get VCF close to VVF or Enterprise Plus or vSphere Standard may look good now, but wait. What happens when the renewal comes up, say 3 to 5 years from now? Do you think the price will be honored? Do you think the package will look the same? Given the experience I've had with Broadcom and our customers to date, time will tell, but I've got a bad feeling about this, and I will place a bet on probably not. We all here have our own Broadcom stories to tell since the acquisition, mostly around cost and a feeling of betrayal, not to mention being told what we can use and what we cannot. When the dust settles, we either make the case to stay with Broadcom VMware or we move on. That is our choice. Taking a step back, I do think we need to look at the whole picture when it comes to this fundamental platform or ecosystem change. And that's where, I built this iceberg slide out, but I'm not trying to persuade customers to leave Broadcom VMware as it's the gold standard in hypervisor technology, but I'm also not suggesting you stay. It all depends on your business needs. So as I talk with customers and I bring awareness to all the things to consider with a hypervisor alternative pivot, we all have our people in staff. We know our skill sets. We all have deep skill sets with VMware. We understand the infrastructure that it goes on. We know the software and licensing costs. We have support and maintenance in place, and it's integrated into our processes and procedures as well as third-party infrastructure via vCenter. This is all well known. Um, Below the waterline, these are the things to be considered that are less known, not thought of, and hard to protect and forecast. So if we're going to have to learn new skills, we're going to have to train up on what's new. Well, security and compliance and governance and controls relate to that new platform. How will it relate? Will it work the same way it did in the previous one? Scripting, infrastructure as code. So if you have Terraform, Ansible, or Chef, Puppet, playbooks, is that going to change? You have to rebuild those. Integration, and that's what I mean by that is the third-party tools, storage, for instance, or other help desk software that integrates into vCenter. Is that going to be integrated into the next platform you move to? Have you thought of those things? And of course, additional costs because you're bringing up new infrastructure in parallel to your old to migrate off of, or to bring up and pilot or POC. That's going to introduce additional costs that we didn't think we'd have to do at this point in time. And again, time. When is your renewal coming up? What is your life cycle of your existing gear? And then the time pressure put on our staff now. What is that going to look like? Do we have that time, and do we have enough people to do all this? These are the kind of things that I got to bring up with our customers. So with the full picture and impact in mind, the other thing I like customers to kind of get down and define is the needs and wants of a hypervisor. So here are some of our customers' top needs, feature-wise, that are considered critical to workloads and organizational operations. We've worked with a lot of our customers to define these or get them down. The needs are always high availability. APIs as a standard has come up recently, and it's very important and a need of our customers. Automation orchestration, easy centralized management, network virtualization, they're up there. These are what we've defined with a lot of our customers as the needs. Following the needs are the wants to support those workloads. So stuff like migration tools, conversion tools, a path to get from the old to the new. These are more wants to support those workloads, nice to haves, and they would make life a lot easier. We really want our customers to find the needs and wants that align to their business and understand how they will map to a desired end state. Part of the things that we do with our customers. There are many options and alternatives to discuss, and I will be happy to have those deeper conversations with you when you are ready. Up next, let's hear from one of our trusted partners, an alternative solution to VMware, Nutanix with Damon Bear.
Thanks, Chris. So in terms of the needs and the wants, fortunately, we actually do listen to our customers, and we do make a solution that addresses all of those aspects that are there. But one thing I'm going to talk about is what are organizations trying to do in terms of modernization and running new business apps within the environment. As the business is required to deploy new initiatives or new business processes within their environment, they find that some of the legacy infrastructure that they have in place may not be able to meet the requirements of those. And historically, what they've done in order to bypass the limitations of technical debt and legacy software is they would go over to the cloud in order to do that. And the cloud was great because you could forget about the past, you could build for new, you could have dynamic scalability, you can spin things up, tear them down, and it gave you a lot of flexibility. However, what organizations have found is that the cloud is not the be-all and end-all. There's many situations where moving your entire workload over to the cloud becomes a lot more expensive than just running it in your on-prem environment. However, you do get the additional of the dynamic scalability and regional distribution and failover and so on. But sometimes you also have to look at where your data actually is. And in order to de-risk things like dependencies on the data or have data gravity, you need to run applications where the data actually is. Sometimes it's in the cloud and you have to run in the cloud. Sometimes it's on the prem and you're able to run on-prem. So what organizations have started doing is looking at a cloud smart methodology, where when it makes sense to put things in the cloud, put them in the cloud, 100%. When it makes sense to run things on-prem, keep them on-prem. The problem that they run into is that the two different types of operating models require different skill sets in order to do that. So moving from a traditional on-prem model over to a cloud model, you have to look at what you need to do to unify that model. With Nutanix, what we do is we provide a hybrid multi-cloud platform that allows you to move your workloads over to where they makes the most sense. You can run them in the cloud, you can run them on-prem. You have the ability to have software-defined networking, which can bridge the networks in between the different environments. So if you want to keep your IP addressing consistent, you're able to do that. If you want to have distributed firewalling and security policies that follow your workloads, you're able to do that as well. And you're also able to have full visibility on workloads that are running in the cloud and on-prem. One of the other things that we really do to enable our customers is that we provide full visibility into existing ESXi environments that are not running Nutanix. So if you find that you don't want to pay for the extra cost of what used to be called vRealize operations, then ARIA operations, and it's now called VCF operations. If you don't want to pay for that and you want to get all the capabilities of that, plus get the insight within your new Nutanix environment, we can cover both sides. So we can give you the visibility on that existing as well as the new from a unified pane. Next slide. Some other things that you need to think about when you're looking at modern workloads is the storage services that are associated with that. Gone are the days when you can have a different silo of storage for each type of workload, whether it's NFS, SMB, iSCSI, volumes, object, all of those different types of workloads that are using the different storage platforms. They should not be individual silos and have individual management planes and different teams operating them. And it's an assumption that whatever platform you have for storage services should also have the innate capabilities for snapshotting and replication and orchestrated DR from that perspective as well. And then when you're thinking about modern AI and the capabilities that organizations want, such as running generative AI models, chatbots, retrieval augmented generation, agents, all these types of things, you need to ensure that you have proper security in place to have guardrails on that platform. You need to be able to manage the life cycle of models and have support for different types of GPU environments as well, both AMD and NVIDIA. And then from a modern application perspective, applications are being built on top of Kubernetes, as Chris was saying. This is the new way of doing things. And you need to be able to have a platform that supports a modern Kubernetes environment from an enterprise perspective. So the way that we do all this with Nutanix is first, we consolidate your storage silos. We provide a single platform that can provide all of those different storage services, from NFS to iSCSI to volumes to SMB objects. All of the different constructs that you need to provide over to your modern applications, we can do within a single stack. And then from an AI perspective, we provide Nutanix Enterprise AI, which allows you to run your workloads not just on-prem, not just on ACI or HCI, but also on bare metal. You can run your AI workloads on existing infrastructure, 3-tier infrastructure, or completely in the cloud, in a cloud-native environment. We give you the ability to unify your AI deployments across legacy, modern, and cloud infrastructure. And we do this by providing a curated set of the best of breed open source projects from a Kubernetes perspective. So you don't need to manage the lifecycle of each one of the projects to enable enterprise Kubernetes. We provide the lifecycle management of those components, the full support of those components, and the ability to run it at scale in the enterprise on any type of hardware. So really, we provide a full platform that allows you to run your workloads in any type of environment. Next slide. Now, some of the ways that we help organizations move from existing environments over to modern environments on Nutanix is we actually have a Nutanix migration bootcamp coming up on June 12th. So you see the QR code over there. I'm actually going to be running that myself, so I'd be more than happy to see anybody that wants to join. Feel free to take a screenshot of that and then register. Another thing that we provide is if you're migrating over to AHV from ESXi, we know that it can be costly to maintain multiple sets of license from your existing VMware license over to your new Nutanix license. So we can actually provide up to 1 year of free licensing and migration support to ensure that you're able to run your workloads on the new AHV environment. For the other two, I'll pass it over to Chris.
All right, thanks a lot, Damon. With the CDW assessments that we have here, we basically go in and we look at the resources, the workloads, your current infrastructure that you're running. We provide a report, walk you through it with some analytics, and provide all information to our customers. So we help right size that environment that you have today to the new desired end state. Just for example, we're seeing compute platforms with the current existing servers today coming out, we're seeing a 7-to-1 consolidation. And then with storage, the consolidation and speed of the NVMe drives is changing the game for us. So knowing what you have today and mapping it to that new desired end state helps us all be successful together. And then, of course, it would be good for me to recommend the migration services, say with CDW. We have experienced engineers who've done migrations, who are a deep skill set with all the platforms out there and can help through professional services to get you there and make us, get us all successful for that new platform pivot and change. Damon, you want this one?
Sure. So as the platform era has emerged, Nutanix is helping organizations enable the ability to look at the broader picture. So not looking at standalone products, but allowing them to move their business forward and work with a broader ecosystem. So there's no lock-in to any specific proprietary technology. You can use best of breed open source and you can operate in any type of environment. And Nutanix will work with existing and new infrastructure to enable that.
Yeah, talking about the new infrastructure and such, how does it look like? How does it look and feel migrating from, say, VMware today on other hardware platforms over to Nutanix? What are the tools and experiences that you've had with customers today?
So we've really iterated on the ease of use of being able to do that. So we have a tool that's called Nutanix Move that we actually provide for free that allows you to specify your source environment, whether it's a Hyper-V or ESXi or the cloud, and then you specify your destination on the Nutanix environment, and it will replicate all of the VMs. It'll keep it in sync, and it'll allow you to do an orchestrated failover when it makes sense for you to do that. So you can do hundreds and hundreds of VMs at a time in a very short period of time. Using this tool, and we can actually do this for file services as well, but using this tool, we've been able to move tens of thousands of VMs with very large customers within just a couple months of time. So massive amounts of migrations across platforms with little to no downtime during the entire process.
No, that's very important for a lot of customers. They don't want the downtime and they don't want it to be disruptive. Again, that's kind of falls into the wants category, that conversion and migration tools, but they do exist. And Nutanix sounds like they have their tools to make that migration as painless as possible. So that's good to hear. Yeah, I think these changes coming about are unprecedented, and I would like to hear from our customers and people online. Do you have any questions or thoughts on the current state of affairs and anything that's plaguing your brain that you want to reach out and ask, I'd say now's a good time. We've got a few minutes left before we got to tie it off. Just throw it in chat and we'll see what we can, happy to talk about it.
Darren, while we're waiting, one thing that I find really interesting is some updates to the EULAs that are coming out from Broadcom and the SPD updates. Can you touch on that and tell me what you think of that?
Let me see if I can bring one up. I've got a few things here.
So as you bring that up, I'll say that the SPDs are amendments to the EULA that say how you're able to use the products. So I'll put it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about in emails of past, just the recent updates for the May, SPDs or specific product documentation. There's forced compliance now check. So every 180 days, if you're not compliant, features start to get shut down. And that's kind of my summary up there. But the actual mandatory compliance is in the SPD. And this is something new for customers, whether you pay for the product or you're using it, you're getting close to renewal or you're on perpetual, they're going to find a way to come and make this relevant to the customers. So this is very new and things are changing quarterly with Broadcom. Pricing, packaging, licensing guidelines. And I think when we're talking about this, Damon, you brought up a good point. Every time you do a massive patch or an update of your VMware environment, or just a regular patch, it resets the EUL or EULA to the latest SPD, and you got to be compliant by that, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So even if you don't get a new version or a new subscription, if you update your platform and you get that new patch or update, you have to adhere to the new SPDs that are in there. And that may remove functionality. That may make it so that existing validated architecture that you have in your environment is no longer supported. That's also happened as well. So you really have to read these things because Broadcom is doing some really underhanded stuff from my perspective. And it's not fair to the customers, and it's not fair to the partners either.
Yeah, I put the SPD in chat, so you have the link to review the SPDs, and Broadcom puts them all up there. There's a primary site. I'll actually send that link out too, so you have the licensing parent page where all of the SPDs can be found. I'll throw that in there as well. All right, so it looks like we're already at time. I didn't see any questions in the chat channel, so I think with that, we'll call it for now. And if you've got some questions and stuff, you can send it through email or get in touch with your account executives and reach out to us. And I'm more than happy to talk deeper on these topics. There's a lot more to this. Like half an hour really doesn't do justice to all the thing that's going on. And we've created a whole deck on alternatives and options for our customers, and lots of experience behind us, given all these changes in the environments. All right.
And please sign up for the bootcamp. Thank you very much.
Yes, the boot camp. I want to attend that boot camp. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you.